I met a gypsy.
The GPs nowadays, is that like the premier motocross? Like, are they the gnarliest dudes in the world on dirt bikes, do you think?
Difficult again to say because you always get that the US Europe or US World Championship divide as such. But I think the level it was this past year was high, and even the year previous with Jeffrey and the boys racing. I think how fast Jeffrey was going, and again Roman February because he was fighting till the end this year. But I almost think this year now, with there's a lot of riders that have gone over the past few years. Like a lot of riders have retired the last 3 years. I think there was no one retired for probably, I don't know. It seemed like any of the top guys just stayed there forever. And then all of a sudden you've had like Searle, who was one of the best. You've had Paulin. I don't know. There's a few others as well that have gone out over the past years that have narrowed the field down a little bit. But again, I just think the way the bikes are, I always think the way that America races the 2 series is, their focus is obviously Supercross compared to the guys that in Europe that is just motocross. So I do think they are the best at motocross. Maybe not all the field. You're always going to have the debate because you've got Ken Roczen that obviously won world championships here. Now he's in America. You're always going to have that thing. Like Musquin obviously won a world championship, went to America, but I think the level that Herlings has pushed it to, and you've got riders like Caroli, who's obviously 9 times world champion, who could still line up and win on any given weekend. But the level's just high, and I think the bikes are high. The teams, they focus all year on motocross, so it's just raised the level. But then at the same time, you think, as I was saying before, like with how the bikes are, the riders are at that level of they've reached that's huge, but then there's a lot of riders at that level. Do you know, it's not just like, there's 4 guys, like you think Jeremy Searle won the last round, or I think not the last round, but a couple of the rounds beforehand. And then you wouldn't put Jeremy Searle in the same category as you would put, say, Ken Roczen, Eli Tomac, Jeffrey Herlings. But then at the same time, he won the race. So then it makes you think, is the level that high? Because obviously Searle's a great rider, but you wouldn't hold him to the same status as you would those guys. But then at the same time, he beat them all straight up, pulled away. I think he was winning the race, dropped back to like 3rd in a crash, came back through, won the race. So when you look at things like that, it's hard to then say that the level is ridiculous, do you know? The level is what it is. And I think Herlings is really, like ridiculously fast on his day now, or for a whole season, because this year obviously he crashed, broke his shoulder, came back, won, and then won the championship. And then in years past, when Caroli's been winning the level he's been at, but honestly, I think it's difficult to say. It really is difficult to say. I think when you're in it, gone are the days where unless you're a Jeffrey Herlings that you can come through, but then if you are faster, you find ways to pass. But I think when I was there the last few years, if everything wasn't right and you're not a 100%, then you're just fighting a losing battle, because all the riders are so good now. And as I think they all work really hard, they all train hard, their bikes are good. So it's just put the whole series on that level, really.
And so, like, for a guy like yourself that's been so consistently 2nd in the World Championship, 3rd in the World Championship, like just one of the premier dudes in the class, like, what are the signs that you need to not race GPs anymore? Like, what do you start to kind of notice? What do you start to see in yourself where you're like, eesh?
More for me, it was like the enjoyment factor of it, and then just that you feel like you're hitting your head against a brick wall every weekend. But it all spirals. My 450 career was never as good as my MX. My 250 career as such. When I signed 450, I didn't sign for a factory team. I had factory offers there, but I was quite happy with the team I was on at the time, which was the CLS team. And then I went 450 with those guys on a 2-year contract. But early in that first year, I sort of realised you need a factory team here, because there was like cracks coming in the team, you know, like where it was just personal people, you know, not working for a company. They would come, they would leave halfway through the year. Like personal problems would affect the team. And then I realized, okay, I need to be on a factory team. So we tried switching to say factory Kawasaki, which I still had the Kawasaki contract, but then I nearly got out of that and went for a different team. But in the end, it all fell through, and I rode for CLS the second year and had problems. But it just injuries, you sort of get on a downward spiral. I had an injury where my bike broke on the takeoff of a jump in Thailand. I broke my wrist and then I came back. Then I signed for factory KTM. Again, I had injuries. I broke my back on a jump in Thailand that year. Came back and broke my shoulder. It's just one of those things where you start on the downward slope, you get injuries, you try and come back from injuries too soon because of contracts, trying to get paid. Obviously, you always want to get paid. You don't want to sit out too long so that people cut your money because it's your job. But yeah, you just get on that downward slope, really hard to come back from. You get lesser results because you've been injured, and then you get lesser rides, and it just spirals really. And I was on that. I sort of was always trying to come back. You're trying harder because you're on a lesser bike, and then you end up crashing more. You're getting bad starts, so you're in an area where you're more prone to have accidents as such because things happen because you're not in a good position on the track. So it was just those things happening, and you always then you try and pick yourself up from it. You're like, right, I'm going to do everything I can. You get back to the weekend and you get a shitty start. You get caught in a crash, and you just think, fuck, what am I doing this for? Like, you obviously money gets worse because you're getting lesser results. So it's just a downward spiral really. You crash, you get injured, you try and come back, you're injured. And that was the story of my MX1 career, really. And then at the end of it, I got a chance to go on the factory Kawasaki team because their riders got injured. And when I rode for them, I went straight from being like around the top 10 guy to then my first GP getting 5th overall and finishing a couple of seconds behind the podium guy. So it was at that point where I knew, fucking hell, like I'm fighting a losing battle trying to do this on a team that's not factory. And then that sort of made my decision. It made my decision really. I'd already made it, but that cemented it. Like, fucking hell, I'm not going to do this on a team that's not factory now. And then I decided to step back and race in England. So, but racing for the Kawasaki team and seeing how good it was, and how professional every single thing was about the team, how professional was practicing and seeing what it took from them, and them giving you everything you need to do it, made me realise that unless you've got that, it's pointless having a go at it at my level, at my point in my career.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favourite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.